Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Kathy at Attic Treasures, etc. And today I want to get started working on the inside of my owl journal here that I showed you how to do the paper fabric, and I made this cover out of it. And I really don't have anything much of anything inside of it yet. I've just basically picked out some scrapbook paper for signature covers and put some coffee dyed paper in there and some looks like craft paper. I like this page since it's going to be an owl theme. I'm going to put that in the center of one of the signatures. So I'm kind of guessing I'm going to have three signatures, but I want to work on some of the inside pages. And what I thought I would do is use some music sheet, and I like to have music pages in my journal, so I'm going to work on something that will incorporate that. And then I thought I would also use an idea that I have in my December journal to decorate the edges of this piece, this edge band right here that I made, because the page of the music sheet isn't as long, in this direction, as the pages in my journal, and so I just want to put a little bit of an extension on there. But to start off with, I want to do some decoupage on here, and I've got this tissue paper that came in a box of something that I ordered, and I can't remember what it was, but I've been saving it for something, the perfect use for it, and I never really had one until now, because I would like this journal to be fairly neutral with just occasional pops of color. And I really like the way this this tissue paper looks. I wanted to decoupage that on the outside of the music page, and then I have this napkin, and I think this came from Target, and I want to put this on the inside. So why don't we go ahead and get started. I'm going to, as you can see, I have it folded up so that it will be the right height for the journal, and then I can make a couple of tuck spots here. So the first thing I'd like to do is just to glue these flaps down, and then I'm not going to glue them up yet or anything like that, because I want to get all my decoupaging done before I do anything like that. So I'm just going to glue these flaps down with a glue stick. Nothing fancy. I'm using Scotch Create glue stick, and I have a link in the video description below where you can order a box of 4 glue sticks from Amazon for like $10.99 or something like that. Really, it's a lot better deal than just buying it from Joann Fabrics or Michaels. Okay, so I want to do the outside first, and I'm just going to grab my Mod Podge that I have thinned down just a little bit. I didn't measure the ratio of it or anything, because I just literally poured a little bit of water in there from my spray bottle until it was kind of runny, and I guess I'll show you kind of what that looks like. So it's just a little bit runny. I guess it could even be a little more runny, but this is what I ended up with. Okay, and I'm not going to try to cover the whole page right off the bat, because I find it easier if I can do it in stages. So I'm just going to do the first half of the page, and then lay my tissue paper on there in the position that I want it. It's just to make sure that the glue gets spread out evenly. And then of course, there's always a few areas that you need to get again a second time. And then do the other half of the page. And that's just my typical method. It's nothing fancy or special. I'm just, trying to make sure that I don't get a lot of air bubbles. I'm just leaving a little bit of excess around the edges, and then I can trim that later when it's all dry. So I find these music books for piano, and I've got one for trumpet, and I just find them at thrift stores. I don't really go anywhere special to look for them, just whatever thrift store I happen to be in. And I've gathered up quite a little collection of them. They're really inexpensive. I've got one, though, that is from 1904, or excuse me, the last copyright date on it was 1907. So the pages are really brittle. I don't like to use them except in collage or making copies of them, because they're well outside the copyright date. Okay, now I'm going to put a top coat on. But I don't use them as pages in my journal because they're just too brittle. You fold them in half and they just break. Okay, I like that when you put the top coat on this, you can still see the music sheet underneath. You can tell that there's music, but it's kind of muted. Well, it's a lot muted, but you can still see it. You can really see the difference between this side and this side that doesn't have the top coat yet. Now, I have used some music pages that were pretty old and brittle, and I have found that decoupaging on top of them, like this with napkins and maybe a couple of coats of Mod Podge, does really help. And then reinforcing the center with washi tape or something similar. But in general, I just like to use them in collages or just make copies of them. I tend not to use printables very often unless I'm doing something that I just don't have books that I can draw from for the images. Just because I really like hunting for these things at thrift stores. It's just one of my favorite hobbies now. Not that I don't like the printables. There's some absolutely gorgeous ones out there. But for me, a personal preference is just, I like to see what I can get when I look inside books that I find at thrift stores. And I have too many books now. I never thought I would hear myself say that, but it's true. Okay, I'm going to pause the camera and dry this off, and then I'll be right back. Alrighty, now that this side is done, I'm going to work on the inside, and I'm going to use this napkin that I found at Target a while back. And I don't know if they have them anymore, but I picked up a package of them because I thought they were pretty. And they sort of fit in with the neutral theme that I'm going for. So I'm going to open up this flap. And then again, I'm going to start over here on the right-hand side of the page with my Mod Podge. When I first started crafting this way, I saw that the Dollar Tree carries Mod Podge, and I just bought a little jar of it there, a little bottle, because I wanted to make sure that I liked it and that it worked before I invested in a bigger one. And it's not that expensive even when you buy the bigger bottles, and I'm not sure exactly what it costs, but I like to use my discount coupons that I have on my Michaels app or my Joann app. And my husband and I both have that app. And so we always go to the craft store together. And then when there's things that he wants, if it's more than one, then he has the coupon on his phone. But if it's just me, it's just stuff that I want, and maybe it's more than one thing, then we each go through the checkout using our app. So we double up on the coupons that way. So if your husband, or if you have a husband or a partner that is willing to support your craft, then both of you having the Joann and Michaels apps on your phone is a good way to save some more money. You can use school glue too. There's also, I guess, a way of decoupaging things like this on paper using saran wrap. And I guess what you do is you have your paper and then a layer of saran wrap and then your napkin, and then cover it with parchment paper and iron it on with a dry iron, no steam. And I have not tried that method yet. So that's something I'm kind of intrigued about. Let's see if it works. Maybe I'll try that in a future video. Although I like to make sure that it works before I turn on the camera so that you guys just aren't just my guinea pigs. I like to make sure that something's going to work first. Oh dear, it tore there. That's okay. Like Tim Holt says, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. So little tears are not a problem. I'm probably going to cover that up anyway. I guess you probably wouldn't get any tears in the iron-on method. I don't know. Have to give that a shot. So I'm just gently putting the top coat on since this napkin seems to be so fragile. And if you've never used napkins before in decoupage like this, you need to remove the bottom layers. You just want the top layer. Some of them have 3 layers, some of them just have 2. I think these were just 2 layers. Okay, I'm going to pause the camera and dry this off, and then I might end up putting another coat on once it's dry. So I'll be right back. Okay, so this is all dry now, and I've trimmed around it, and I'm not worried about that little tear because that's going to get covered up. The last part I want to cover is this section right here that'll form the pocket, and to do that I'm using some of this Tim Holtz collage paper, and this is called Document, and I found this at Joann Fabrics. And I'm just going to cut off a little piece here. I can't remember if I heard this right, but I think Tim Holtz is discontinuing the collage paper, which is really sad because I love this. I don't know, I could be wrong about that, but we shall see. Okay, I'm going to dry and trim, and we're getting ready to do some sewing. So I'll be right back. Alright, so it's all dried, and I've done my sewing around it. So I opened it up and I sewed across this edge, and then I went all the way around. And I ran out of bobbin right there, so that's why that looks so weird. But you know what? It's not a wedding dress. So I don't really care. I think that kind of adds to it. A little bit of messy stitching. Okay, so next I want to get started on doing my edge strip. So I'm going to set this aside for a minute and then pull out some scrap pieces that I can use. And I've got my binder here of scraps. These are all patterned scraps. And if you want to learn how I made these pockets out of sheet protectors, I do have a video on how I did that. And I have them sort of grouped by color, you know, sort of loosely. And what I want to use are these browns. And because it's going to show from the opposite side, it's going to hang over the edge, I want double-sided paper. So I've got like this one, so there's some double-sided there. Pretty much anything from Tim Holtz is double-sided. And I have quite a few little scraps of that. So we'll just pull those out. There's some more. Let's see. This will work, even though it's just brown on the other side. That's fine. This is a good one. So what I'm looking for are colors that kind of go with the theme. of just being, you know, a little bit on the neutral side. Okay, so that should get me going. Oh, let's pull this one out too, in case I need more. I don't want to use this one because I want to keep that bird intact. Okay, so that should do it. Okay, I have these punches here that I'm going to be using. So a 3/4 inch punch, this square punch that I got at Goodwill, a little stamp type punch. That one I think came from Value Village. And then a 1-inch circle and this little butterfly. So I'm just going to start punching, see what I end up with. When they get to be this small, I just toss them. I feel like I've done my duty by using them. Alright, I've got all my shapes cut out and I am just going to start laying them down and gluing them on. Let's see, I can put these on the edges of my parchment paper here. You're going to kind of hang off a little bit, so I'm just going to be gluing half of each shape. I'm going to start with the squares. That worked well for me before. Actually, I want to put this one down here because I wanted to start with the top one being straight like that. So I'm going to do the same sort of thing on the other side, the other half of the page here. Okay, now I'm going to start building up the layers with some of these little stamp shaped ones. I like these little geometric edge trims. And if I was really ambitious, if I was just doing this without videoing, I would probably ink all these pieces up. But in the interest of time, and I don't think everything needs to be inked. I'm not anti-ink. I love ink. I just don't think I need to do it everywhere. So I'm using art glitter glue now, and that forms a really strong bond. So this is a great way to use up small scraps. Okay, now I'll put on some of the larger circles. So basically all I do is I just keep layering until I'm happy with it. Well, some of the little smaller circles, and they can just be, you know, sort of scattered here and there. So I'm happy you're joining me today. And if you do like my content, I would really appreciate a thumbs up, and also if you would subscribe. And YouTube loves it when I receive comments. They start promoting my video a little bit more depending on how many comments I get. So, and I love reading them so much. So if you would leave me a comment, I would be most grateful. And so far I'm answering all of my comments because I want to interact with you guys as much as possible. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Okay, and then lastly, let's put on some of these little butterflies for a little bit more interest. And these I will ink up just so you can see the edges of them so that they stand out a little bit, because otherwise they're just going to blend in. Let me grab some vintage photo here. That makes them stand out a little bit more. One thing I like to do sometimes is to take a strip of scraps and then emboss it with some embossing glaze, the whole strip, and then when it's dry, then I cut out the butterflies. Then they really stand out. And you'll still be able to see them on here. They're just, you know, they're like little surprises hidden in with the other shapes. I don't know about you, but I love it when I can take something simple like a music page and then transform it into almost a work of art. When I was little, I loved playing with paper and scissors and glue, and then I had to get serious and be a grown-up. But now my working life is over. I'm all done being a quality engineer, all done being a paralegal, and now I can play with paper and scissors and glue to my little heart's content. Who's with me? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Okay, let's see. This is one last little butterfly. Well, I'll just put them right there. A lot of times I'll put lace on the edges to give them a little bit more length. But, you know, not everybody has lace, and I don't always want to use lace. So this is a great way. And you don't have to have all these punches, even if you just have a couple. You know, it's fun just to put a variety of them down and use up some scraps in the process, and voila! Suddenly you have a pretty cool edge trim. Okay, so that's it for that. And I like that it's all still on the other side. You can still see print on it since all these pieces are double-sided. And I do have another focal point I want to put on here. I cut out this owl picture from one of my books, and so I want to get him on here, but I do want to ink around the edges. I meant to do this last night. This is from actually a book about owls that I found at the thrift store, and that's why I like to go to thrift stores, because you can find these. And you know, when you find things like this, you know, okay, let me back up. Part of the beauty of buying printables is that you can print them again and again and again. And part of the fun of just gathering a bunch of different books is that each one you make is one of a kind. So, you know, pros and cons to each method. Make sure he's on there just right. Yeah, oh, I love this guy. Okay, yeah, I just thought that he had the greatest expression, and I don't know, the right colors. I used to live in a house that was on 5 acres, and we had a lot of Steller's jays and crows and things like that. But one evening, maybe around dusk, I guess, all of a sudden, and the property was quite wooded, and so all of a sudden the Steller's jays just started screaming, and they just wouldn't let up. And so I went out into the trees where I was hearing the noise, and I saw this great horned owl, like this one, sitting in one of the trees, and the Steller's jays were just really harassing it. They did not like that unwelcome visitor. He was not their friend, but he seemed extremely unfazed by all of that nonsense. Extremely unfazed. But it's really something to see them in person. They're really big. Have you ever seen one? Have you ever seen a great horned owl? I don't know exactly if that's what this is. We need to. But he, you know, he was big and he had ears like this. Okay, and then on the inside, I have some leaves that I cut out. I'll show you the die. It's the Tim Holtz Thinlits, and they're called leaf fragments. I said that on here somewhere. But anyway, they're called leaf fragments, and the number is 665559. And so I had some waxed paper that I had on my desk that I used to, you know, just catch overspray when I was spraying some of my, you know, pages and pieces and stuff. And so I used some of the wax paper and I cut out these leaves from it. And then I also sprayed some book page and with some different colors of inks and oxides, and cut out a few more. So I thought it would be really interesting to have some of these leaves on the inside. And then I have this circle that I cut out of watercolor paper and added just some distress oxide. I think I used the color frayed burlap. And I thought these would look really pretty in here, like so. So let me get these glued down. I tried copy dyeing this watercolor paper, and it was semi-successful. So then I just put some of the distress oxide on it and then sprayed it with water, and I got that look, and it kind of reminds me of a moon. I'm going to use collage medium for the wax paper, hoping that it will work. So let's get these down first. These are a little bit sturdier since they're made out of book page. Okay, now for the wax paper, since it's a little more delicate, I'm going to use the Distress Collage medium on it. And I'm going to get glue all over my hands. And I don't care. This stuff will dry clear. Oh, I'm using Mod Podge, not Distress Collage medium. This dries clear too. Okay, now I'm going to glue this part down to form a tuck. And I won't fold it until it's completely dry. So then I'll have it. Okay, don't play with it until it's all dry. I've got these little books. And I want this to be a little tuck spot as well, kind of a little hidden one, or, you know, not really hidden, it's not hidden, but I don't know why I said it was hidden, but it'll be kind of a little surprise tuck. So this came from a little package of embellishments that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. Might have been Michael's. But I like the way the colors go. And then I'm going to put this little mushroom. It looks like a little mushroom terrarium. Then I have this little card here, little journal card. Ink up the back of it, I guess, a little bit. This came in that same little package. And I think I'm going to call this done, guys. So what do you think? We have the owl here and this neat edge trim that you can see from both sides, and then a tuck spot here and a tuck spot here, and a little surprise one here with the leaves. So what do you think? Do you like the way this turned out? Because I'm super happy with it. So if you did like it, please give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment, and also please subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you know when I've uploaded new videos. So thank you so much for joining me today, everybody. I really appreciate you, and always let the serendipity find you. So happy crafting, everybody. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to find a spot to put it in my journal. Let's see. What if I put it right here? Excellent. So now he's in a signature. He has a home, and we'll go from there. So again, thank you everybody for joining me, and I will see you in my next video. Happy crafting, and let the serendipity find you. Bye bye, everybody.